Let's officially begin our review of Captain America Brave New World. We begin with Cap on a mission to obtain a package. The package ends up being some adamantium. Adamantium that was obtained from the giant celestial sitting in the middle of the ocean. The world's nations are on the brink of war with Japan and other countries competing for who can mine the adamantium from this big superstructure. Uh, President Ross, Thunderbolt Ross, is trying to unite the nations and equitably split this new resource. He brings in Captain America. No origin for Sam Wilson. He goes on this mission, accomplishes it, nearly gets killed, isn't, but emerges a hero with his new sidekick. He has his own Falcon, played by the actor. What's his name? It's Danny Ramirez, who plays Joaquin Torres. He's actually kind of a good sidekick, I gotta say, as a Falcon, so to speak. He has a meeting with President Ross, and who basically tells him he wants to reform the Avengers because they may be needed in the coming months. Then Sam and Joaquin go to visit an old colleague, Isaiah Bradley, played by Carl Lumley, who has trained Cap and is now training Joaquin in the ways of fighting. And Isaiah don't play. He is an imposing figure. He has taken the super serum, and all of them are invited to the White House for a big meeting among world leaders. When President Ross there's an attempt on President Ross's life from some agents who are activated by a piece of music. And Isaiah is one of those people. It's kind of a Manchurian Candidate kind of thing. They go into assassination mode, try to kill Ross, and all these agents have no memory after they don't hear the song anymore. That's the extent of the intrigue. It's all very obvious. Giancarlo Esposito plays Seth Volker, who has a buyer for the adamantium, who turns out to be the leader, played by Tim Blake Nelson. There may be some mild spoilers going forward. This is all in the first, I'd say, half of the film. We also meet other people, including a Secret Service agent played by Zosha Roquemore, and Shira Haas plays Sabra in the film, who is an extremely tiny Secret Service agent. I thought she was a child, actually, like the dog, like some kid. She's actually a Secret Service agent she's got to be 4 foot nothing, and she looks like a kid, but she completely kicks ass. So there's tons of girl bossness in this film that is not reflected in the trailers at all.
Yeah, they purposely hid that.
Yeah, and all of this is with director Julius Ona, is aspiring for this film to be Winter Soldier, have this kind of political intrigue and mystery, except everything is so obvious, and all of the dialogue just tells you what's happening. There are no secrets, there are no surprises, and while I don't think you could really complain about the cast, Anthony Mackie is as likable as he's always been. I think he does a good job, as well as the rest of the cast. And even I expected Harrison Ford to kind of sleepwalk through it. He actually doesn't. He's actually pretty good. But the problem is the script and the directing. And it really does seem like this thing was completely overhauled. I understand that the first half of the movie was completely reshot, kind of shoehorned into the third act that they initially planned, which you can guess what that is. And it is, I have several complaints. One, the script. Everything is telegraphed. There are no secrets. It wants to be mysterious, but when you hear what it is, it's like, oh yeah, that's what I would have guessed. I heard that song come on, and then Isaiah goes kind of, Manchurian candidates. That was so obvious. The action I thought was weak in terms of the physical fighting. I thought was weak. Seen it before. Nothing really special or new. I didn't really buy Mackey's version of Cap because we didn't see him become Cap. Here's the thing. I love Anthony Mackie as Falcon. He is great as Sam Wilson. Love that character still. I don't know who he is. Who is Sam Wilson? Now, conversely, look at Steve Rogers, Captain America. I know who he is. Steve Rogers is the type of kid that can do this all day, the type of kid previous to the serum, the super soldier serum. He would jump on a grenade to sacrifice himself for people he cares about, to save people. That's the spirit of Captain America. I don't know who Sam Wilson is or why he does what he does. All I know is someone said he should be Captain America, so he decided to take the mantle of Captain America. I don't think that doesn't work for me. And the fact that he is a hodgepodge of a bunch of heroes, including Falcon, he's got Falcon's wings, he's got Ant-Man's helmet, and he's got Cap's shield, and he's got some sort of Wakanda tech, so a little bit of Iron Man in there. He's like, I don't know, a hodgepodge of other heroes. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't work. And then the reveal of the Red Hulk, we saw it coming. There will be no surprises. I won't ruin it, but he's only in the third act. I mean, it's in the trailer, and I'll tell you, we saw it. Dante and I saw it with a packed audience, packed. And during moments when an action sequence would end, there'd be this pause. Like, here's where you applaud. It was quiet in the theater. And there is a particular action scene with where the Celestial is, and there's an American fleet and Japanese fighters and American fighters, and two fighter pilots have gone rogue, and Cap and Falcon are trying to stop these fighter pilots from starting a war with Japan, oddly. And the action is so confusing, so weird, and even the fact that every single thing that's happening is illustrated in dialogue. We have to stop the fighters so they don't start the war with Japan. Get that fighter. Everything is telegraphed. He's not Captain America. It's Captain Exposition. So everything is super obvious, and it's like a child playing with action figures. That's the extent of the believability of the action sequences. A final thought, and then I want to hear what you have to say, Dante. The reveal of the person pulling the strings, Tim Blake Nelson as the leader, is laughable. He looks like he's not the leader from the comics. Let's be fair. The leader from the comics has a huge forehead, a la Ryan Kinnell, but is green and has a huge forehead, a big brain. He's got a like exposed brain on the top of his head, and he's kind of green. It looks like someone took a head of cauliflower and put it on top of his head and painted it green. It's laughable.
You know what? He actually looks more like old school Brainiac than he does the leader.
Precisely. Wrong universe. But I gotta say, at the end of the day, I'll say this, it's not the worst, say, of phase 4, but this hodgepodge is like a Disney Plus movie special. It feels like TV, the way that it's very episodic in terms of what happens. All the exposition is like, we want to make sure that the stupid audience knows what's going on. And it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's too simple-minded to work. It projects everything. So ultimately an unsatisfying experience. And by the way, a flawed script and direction can be transcended by great characters. My final comment. One of the things that makes Marvel Comics and the early Marvel movies great, the focusing on character. Who is Steve Rogers? Who is Peter Parker? Who is Tony Stark? Who are these people? Who is Johnny Storm? You get to know they're humans. They have human and relatable problems that they become real in our minds. And that's one of the things that Marvel Comics did so well, that Marvel movies, when they're at their best, do so well, is we know who these people are. Not enough time was spent to tell me who Sam is and why he deserves to be Cap, and his reluctance to take on the mantle. There's no reluctance here. He's just is the character. But I think in the end, it's a Disney Plus movie. So even with my expectations set incredibly low, I was disappointed. Dante, what did you think?
Yeah, look, we all knew going into this it was going to be a mess. Like, I don't think anyone's going into this with high expectations, right? I mean, and if you are out of your mind. And I'm
Right.
gonna do my best to get through this without cursing. Look, it's like you said, Anthony Mackie did a good job. You know, the actors were not at fault here. Harrison Ford, to my surprise, didn't phone it in. I thought he was going to phone it in. He actually he performed. He acted, you know. I still think obviously it would have been better with William Hurt, the original Thunderbolt Ross, but obviously he passed away and they had to replace him. But Ford didn't do a bad job, man. The problem is they had nothing to work with. They had nothing to work with, these actors. And I feel so bad for Mackie because I like Anthony Mackie, man. And I feel like he's just yet to get that role. You know what I mean? And this movie didn't help him at all. It didn't do any justice to his talent, to his charisma on screen. I think it was almost like they set him up. You know what I mean? The movie is not great, but I will say I didn't hate it, as much as I thought I would. So in that, and only in that way am I kind of calling it a win, because I didn't hate it as much as I thought I would.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not completely suckage, because I like Sam Wilson.
Yeah.
I genuinely look, I like Harrison Ford. Like you said, he didn't sleepwalk through it. And I like Giancarlo Esposito, who is completely wasted. Liv Tyler, also, by the way, as Dr. Betty Ross, wasted.
Yeah.
One scene. And I'll say, we'll talk about it Friday. There is one post-credit scene, and it is the worst post-credit scene of any Marvel movie. It advances nothing. It's wasted, not funny, doesn't do anything. And I like Daniel Ramirez as Joaquin Torres, the quote new Falcon. He even says, "I'm the new Falcon." It's like, oh, don't get ahead of yourself, kid. But he was actually likable.
He was likable. He was very likable, man.
He was likable. So good.
And I like the dynamic with him and Sam. So there are some tiny bits of good things in this movie, but not nearly enough. Not nearly enough.
Yeah.
The one thing you didn't touch on, man, and it's the thing that's driving me crazy, actually, is the wonky CGI. The CGI is
so bad.
In the third act, that CGI was, honestly, I was almost like, are we getting trolled? Like, I was like, wait a minute, something's wrong here. No, that CGI in that third act with the Red Hulk was so bad. I was like, there has to be something wrong. There's no way they purposely left that in the film. Yeah. There's no way. It was terrible, man. And I don't think this is a good start for the MCU for this year. For this year,
even like when Thunderbolt Ross transforms into the Red Hulk, it's laughable.
it's funny.
I mean, there are points where you were going to laugh, like it's not laugh in a Madam Web kind of way, but it's so dumb. Like the reveal of the leader, I laughed, and when you see Harrison Ford turning into the Hulk, you see his pants, they kind of tighten. You see his shoes. Somehow the Hulk always has just enough, thread to have some dignity, so to speak. But the shoes, everything was so it's goofy, and then
it's
destroys Washington D.C. It's so god.
It's especially goofy when you think about the fact that as frail and tiny as Harrison Ford is in that film, and then when he turns into this 8-foot Hulk, his pants are still on. I'm like,
right.
I'm like, oh, okay.
Are they elastic?
I know we have to suspend disbelief. I get that, but come on,
I'll say more in our spoiler review, but
yeah, I don't want to get too spoiler either. I just feel like, man, this was not. I know they couldn't shelve it. They couldn't shelve it. It was too late. They had to put this movie out. They threw too much money into it. They had to put it out. I get that. I just don't think it's going to do them any favors. I think the best they can hope for is people come out of that theater saying, meh. Meh is the best they can hope for.
Well, if you had to give it a number rating, what would you give it?
So, it's funny because Yellow Flash asked me this, somebody asked me this yesterday or last night after the movie, and to be honest, man, it's about a 6 for me. I mean, it was enough to like I could stay in the theater and watch it. I didn't feel like walking out at any point, but it's not great. Maybe a 5. Maybe a 6 is too high. I say it's about a 5. It's a 5 for me.
I would say between a 3 and a 4, mainly for Anthony Mackie, Harrison Ford, and the guy who plays the new Falcon. They get props for they did their job. They did their job. The real disappointment is the director and the script, this movie is from another era. It's from another time and it's not, the one thing is, it's not overtly woke, but it has girl boss nonsense. It has language. There's a speech that Cap gives that we'll talk about in the spoiler edition on Friday, because people will have seen it, that I cringed at a couple of things. And President Ross's thing about equitably, dealing with the celestial. It's like, oh God, here we go. It's all that language. So it's not overtly woke, but it's woke. And it was made this was designed for a different time.
Yeah. Oh wait, but here's the thing. It was supposed to be way more woke than what we got. Right. And that's why they did all the reshoots, is to make it less woke. So yeah, there's still some woke elements, but man, can you imagine what it was like before it got cut? Like how woke it would have been.
I'd love to see that.
But I'm also going on a slight rant here. This is the one thing that drove me crazy the most in this film. And yeah, the CGI was bad and all that. I'm tired of this trope, and I'm starting to get to the point now where if I keep seeing it in a film, I'm just going to walk out. I am tired. I am so goddamn tired of seeing these tiny 110-pound women taking out a platoon of grown-ass men, grown-ass soldiers, right? Soldiers weighing 230 to 300 pounds. These tiny little girls taking them out in hand-to-hand combat. I'm not going to curse. I'm getting tired of seeing it. I'm getting tired of seeing it. It's getting to the point of stupid now. It is stupid.
110 pounds. You're giving her much more credit. She was like 90 pounds.
Yeah, no, this was a tiny girl. This girl was smaller than Scarlett Johansson, and she's sitting there flipping guys around. I'm like, no, we're not doing this no more. We're not doing this shit no more. See, and you know what's really dumb about that whole thing is in the comics, Sabra has powers and abilities. So if you'd have gave that same little girl the powers and abilities that Sabra has in the comic, it would have been completely believable. Because in the comic, she has super strength. In the comic, she can fly. In the comic, she has this fire projection. She has power. And then you could take on soldiers, and I'll be like, okay, she has powers. What can they do? But this girl is doing hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah. Well, let's wrap it up.
With mercenaries.
Let's wrap it up here. I'll say between a 3 and a 4, it gets points for the cast, which I think, in spite of a terrible script and a weak director, they actually did their job. And the one thing the movie did that I think Marvel fans may or may not like or respond to, it moved the Marvel story forward in the sense that it acknowledged the Celestials and it set up Sam Wilson bringing the Avengers back together. So it's in effect moving the story of the Marvel universe together without too much burden of other. There's one good cameo, which I will not say, but I will talk Friday about that cameo. There's one good cameo that is a great scene with a character we all love. And you can guess who that is. Yeah, but don't say it. But in the end, it's between a 3 and a 4. And I'm seeing it again on Thursday. Final thoughts, Dante, and your number rating.
Well, you're better than me because I don't think I'm ever going to watch this movie again. Once was enough for me. So,
yeah, okay.
My final thing is, guys, if you're going to see it, just load up, have a few drinks, go with some friends, have your expectations as low as you can get them. And I give it, like I said, I give it a 5.
And drink the Captain America cream soda.
Or that was actually pretty good.
Or the Red Hulk Smash.